A Brighter Sun, Chapter 6. When Tiger told Miller he was going to Port of Spain, she begged to be taken along. But he said he and Boise were going, and she would be a hindrance to their activities. But he promised to buy a bonnet for the baby. "Go in one of the big store, Tiger, and get her a good one. Rita said that it have a store by the corner of Queen and Frederick Street, which part you could buy plenty things to buy," Miller told him. And when Boise passed to meet him, and when they were about to leave, "Mind you don't get knocked down with car. You know how traffic busy in town." Boise laughed. "You won't say he's a small boy and can't take care of himself." They walked out to the eastern main road. Tiger had put on a clean white shirt. Boise had on a jitterbug shirt with palms and birds. "Is how we going, by bus?" "Man, taxi is only 6 cents more. We'll reach town in 2 2s. Them all bus too slow." Transportation between the city and most districts on the main roads was not difficult. A private company ran a regular, though dilapidated bus service, which was competed against by hundreds of flashy American cars. Once an Indian bought an old English make, which looked like a tortoise among the other cars in the car stand in George Street. The other drivers gave him a lot of jokes, asking him why he didn't take that old bus bin off the road. But while they were charging double the bus fare, the Indian used to get more passengers by offering to take them for a penny less. This made him very unpopular with the other taximen, and eventually led to a fight. It started when a Negro driver, trying to maneuver his taxi near to the corner of Queen and George Streets, a strategic spot to block passengers, scraped the fender of the English car. "Is why you don't get that damn old tin pan from the road, Percy-wad. You don't see you blocking the way." "But look at this man now. Look at trouble here today. You best odds make up your mind you have to buy a new fender for me." One word led to another, and Percy-wad came out of his car and cursed the Negro's ancestors, and the Negro hauled a jack from under his car seat. They caused considerable interest to vendors and passers-by, who joined in the cries of "Beat him! Beat him up!" meaning any one of the two. They were brought to court and deemed rogues and vagabonds, and fined $100 each. As Percy-wad couldn't bear the shame of going to jail, he had to sell his car to pay the fine. He got $200 for it, which was more than he had expected, and after paying the fine, went to drive a Big Mac truck for the Americans down at one of the bases. The taxi Tiger and Boise were in stopped twice to pick up passengers. The driver asked Boise where he was getting off, and when he said by the railway station, the driver decided he could risk overloading with 2 more, and an old Negro woman with a basket of fish came in and sat between Tiger and Boise. "Listen, man," Boise told the driver, "what slackness is this? I bet you will get out and take another taxi. This old woman come and smell me up with fish." "Is why you making so much fuss for partner? I'm only trying to make a little extra money. You see how it is we people can't get on? Man, you is a Indian like myself." "I ain't have nothing to do with that now. Is either this woman come out the car or me and my partner take another car. Look, I tell you what, I go put the fish in the trunk behind." And the driver took the basket from the woman, who was glaring at Boise. He started off again quickly before Boise could say anything. "I wish a policeman could hold you up for overloading," Boise grumbled as they got underway. He turned to the woman. "And is why you looking at me, summer come here? You don't like my face?" She looked out the window and didn't say a word. Boise turned to Tiger. "Boy, these taximen does have things their own way too much. Some of them does tell you they're leaving right away, and when you get in the car, it's because they're making rounds all Charlotte Street for more passengers. And what you could do? Nothing, because you're in the car already. As for when they're going down south, boy, that is trouble self. All them touts by the railway station, from the time they see you with a grip in your hand, they start hustling. South, mister? You going south? Look, a nice car here. It have radio. Leaving right away. South direct. And this time the smart driver have about 3 tout, sitting down quiet as if there's passengers. It's only when you get in and he lock up your grip in the trunk and begin to make rounds, all down Park Street, all round Piccadilly and Green Corner, that you realize you get stick. And you wouldn't be leaving for South until you get 4 more passenger. The taxi halted by the railway station, and Boise and Tiger got out. Pay the man, it's only a shilling, he told Tiger. Tiger said, Man, I ain't have any change. A $5 is the smallest change I have. But you holding big. Well, see if the driver have change. But the driver hadn't, and they had to get in and go to Marine Square, where Tiger went into a restaurant and asked for change. But the attendant refused unless he bought something. So Boise said to take a packet of cigarettes. When they paid the driver, he said to Boise, Boy, that is 2 good drive you had in my taxi. The first and the last. Never me and you again. And as the car drove off, the old woman poked her head out of the window and shouted, You nasty coolie! I smelling a fish, but what you smelling of? The rest of her words was inaudible as the car swung into George Street. Boise only laughed and told Tiger the best way to start the day was to have a drink. They had a nip in Columbus Bar, and Tiger felt much better. As they were near the waterfront, Boise suggested that they take a walk along the wharf. Above the roofs of the storage sheds, they could see the masts of ocean-going steamers. Some of them is passenger boat, but a lot is tankers coming for oil to carry to England, and others come for sugar. They have plenty of ships here because all down by South America, they come here and meet, and then all of them go overseas together in a thing they call convoy. That way, it harder for submarine to attack them. Why it harder? Well, you damn fool, ain't it easier to beat one man than to beat 2? How long it does take to reach England? I don't know, man. About 2-3 weeks, but 1 day. And Boise's voice fell, as if he were speaking to himself. When the war over, I go into America, and one of them ships self. You can't imagine how life different there, boy. But how you know? Man, you forget, I born in the city here. We don't grow up chut and foolish like all you in the country. We could see plenty pictures in the theaters and read books from the library and talk to people who went there already. So tell me something, Boise. When I used to work in the cane field and help make sugar, it went to England too? Yes, man. You think the people who eating sugar over there does think about we who making it here? You just think about who make the shoes you're wearing? Yes, I does wonder about which part it come from and how the cow was in the field grazing and then they kill it and put the skin to dry and then how people in the factories make shoes. Well, everybody ain't have time like you to bother with them things, you see. I for one don't want to know which part it come from as long as I could get it. But man, Boise, you must be interested in things. Boise looked at Tiger as if he were seeing him for the first time. You should have been a scholar instead of planting tomatoes. Boy, one day I going to get education and come a big man in this country, boy. I going to be like big shot people in Red House. Is which part the Red House is? Let we go up the road and I go show you. They crossed Marine Square and entered St. Vincent Street. A tram car went by, but Tiger felt it would be ridiculous to ask Boise about it. But he looked at it until it went up the street out of sight, clanging on the rails. That is the post office, Boise indicated a large building on his left and a little higher up. That is the Guardian office, and opposite to the Gazette, and just by the corner have a rum shop. Me throat dry answering all these questions. But I never know that they had Gazette papers. Well, you know now. So how they does get all the news and thing? Man, you're asking some funny questions, eh? They have reporters who goes out and collect news. I had a good friend working at the Guardian. I wonder if he dare now. I'm sure he would come and chop one with we. They stood up on the pavement and looked up at the Guardian building, and Boise whistled long and loud. But after a minute, he shrugged and told Tiger that his friend must have gone out to cover a story. He's a smart fella. He have plenty education. He coulda tell you a lot of things, he said. They drank a nip in Coconut Grove. Tiger was impressed with the Red House, but Boise was more interested in the Central Police Station opposite. Boy, the most ignorant police in the world is the Trinidad Police. A fuss they stupid. Man, they don't even know how to talk to people properly. They're like bees. But if you're white, or if you have money, it's alright. I know plenty people who does do all kind of scheme, but because they have money, the police don't do them nothing. It's only poor people does catch their ass. They passed through the Red House, and Tiger wanted to visit some of the rooms. But Boise said, what was the sense? Hadn't he seen the Red House? So they went into Woodford Square. A tall Negro in a white gown was preaching to a crowd. He was drawing queer designs on the ground with a piece of chalk and predicting the ending of the world, warning the crowd to wash away their sins before it was too late. A few trees were covered with a kind of dry bean, and when the wind passed they rattled, and it sounded like waves cast upon a beach. They sat down on a bench, and Boise pointed out Frederick Street, and Tiger remembered he had to buy a bonnet for the baby. That is one thing you have to do for yourself, Boise told him, pushing out his legs and leaning back. Sun too hot. I ain't going to no store with you. I'm sitting down right here on this bench in the shade. Go on and come back. I'm waiting for you. The shopping center of the city was crowded with weekend shoppers, allied servicemen, and poor people looking in the show windows and feeling their pockets and purses. In 5 minutes, standing in one spot, Tiger could have seen representatives of all races under the sun. Tiger was a little afraid to venture into the store. He peeped in and saw so many people buying things. All the attendants appeared to be busy. He didn't know which one to approach. He saw a counter on which was displayed all manner of clothing for children. How was he to learn and have experience if he was such a coward? The people couldn't do him a damn thing. He had plenty money in his pocket. He was going to buy just as everyone else. He went up to the counter where the attendant had a shapely backside turned. Tiger looked at it and said, I want a bonnet for the baby. The girl was sorting boxes on a shelf and didn't hear him. What she was doing wasn't necessary, but her department was surprisingly dull for a Saturday morning, and she was tired of just standing around. She was a good-looking nigger girl. Her father had Spanish blood. Some of it flushed her face as she bent under the counter. She was thinking of a raffle in which she had invested 2 shillings. It was for a bicycle. If she could win. But it was just her luck to lose. It was going to be drawn at 1 o'clock when the stores closed, and the morning was dragging heavily. Whenever the horse racing season was near, an Indian with a white beard used to come around selling sweepstake tickets, and she bought from him regularly. Every time she thought, this is it, Florida, New York, London, Paris. But she never won, not even a consolation prize. Last Easter, she had gone to Union near San Fernando for a meet. She had won $5 in the Paris, but she never gave up hope. One day, she knew she would win. She used to rehearse in her mind just what she was going to tell the boss and her friends in the store. She wouldn't be too dramatic, although she could afford to be. She would just put her hands on her hips and look at him from head to foot. No, that wouldn't do. She should deliberately do something wrong, and then when he began to talk to her, she would show such beautiful indifference, like Betty Davis. She would smile and listen to him, and when he was through, she would say very calmly, without getting excited at all, "Mister, keep your blasted work." And she imagined what a commotion that would cause. No, that wouldn't do. So she always was rehearsing how it would be when she won a sweepstake. She glanced up at the store clock anxiously, then turned her back again. Tiger looked at her backside and swallowed. He said, "I want a bonnet for the baby." The girl turned and said, "Wait now, you's Russian. You can't say I'm busy doing something." Tiger fidgeted. The girl pushed the boxes in place, gave the new bicycle a quick look in her mind, and turned. "Now, what is it you want?" Before he could answer, an elderly white woman came up. She had just told off an impudent policeman and was fuming. Imagine, he had the impertinence to keep blowing her horn until she had to come out of the grocery where she had been ordering things for the weekend, causing so much attention. And as usual, a crowd of colored idlers had stood around. It was amazing how quickly a crowd gathered in this city, while the policeman told her the car was parked too far out on the street. It was holding up a tram car. "Look here, my good man. Do you know who I am?" she had demanded in an icy tone. "Give me your number. I will speak to about you." True, he had backed down and apologized when she called so-and-so's name and said he was sorry. He didn't know. But damn it all, it was the impudence of the man. She would remember his number and speak to so-and-so when she met him at the country club. The attendant immediately leaned over the counter, and a bright smile split the line of lipstick on her face. "Yes, madam. What I can do for you, please?" Tiger said quietly, "I was here first." The white woman sniffed the air and cast a surprised look at the Indian. The attendant said sharply, "If you can't wait, go somewhere else." "I would like to get so-and-so," the woman began. "But I was here first. My friend waiting up the road for me," Tiger explained, looking from one to the other. The girl ignored him. The woman said, "Let me see what you have in the cotton dresses, please. I want one for a girl of about 7 years." The attendant moved swiftly, piling boxes on the counter. This thing shouldn't happen to him today, on his first trip to town. It was time he began to assert himself with those around him. "But look, it's only fair that I get the bonnet first, you know," he said. But he wavered. He wished Boise were with him. He would have known what to do. He stood up helplessly, looking around and wondering if other people were noticing and laughing at him. He wanted to do the right thing, whatever it was. But he couldn't understand the situation. What he wanted to do was make a scene, demanding his rights. But instead, he walked slowly out of the store. Behind him, the attendant said, Sorry, madam, but you know these people rude. He look as if he just come from the country, always pushing in front of everybody else. This one suit you? Is a pretty color." The white woman brushed the incident from her mind as if she were flicking a speck off her dress. She just couldn't be bothered. Once was enough for the day. She paid for the dress and stood for a moment on the pavement before entering the car. The sun, almost overhead, struck her full in the face. She grimaced and cursed it under her breath. The country was beautiful. Life was far easier than in England, but it was so damn hot. She started the car and swung to one side to let a tram pass. The girl slipped over to the haberdashery. "Girl, if I give you this joke, a stupid coolie just come inside for a bonnet, and he plain he can't wait while attending to Mrs. Cuthbert. You know, the white lady living in that big house just opposite the cannonball tree in the savannah. If you see the man, like it's the first time he come to town. A real country bookie. Her friend did as if she were sorting boxes of hairpins. They're too fast with themself, girl. You didn't tell him wait. I know them good. They does have money wrapped up in a cloth, tie around their waist. Sometimes they examine everything you show them, and in the end they don't buy nothing. You know the joke about the Indian man and the ham? Wait, just now I will tell you. She dispatched a customer and returned. One time an old Indian went into Canning's and asked to see ham. So Carl, Daisy's boyfriend now, showed him one. He said it too small. So Carl bring a bigger one. He still say it's small. Well, Carl show him all the ham in the grocery and still the coolie man ain't satisfied. So at last Carl, thinking the man want to buy about 20 ham one time, bring the biggest one it had, a York ham, and tell him that it is the best they have. The coolie lift it up, you know, and feel it good. And he say, you know what he say? He say, this good one, give him 12 cents worth. I never hear that. You should have sent it to the Guardian West Indian Humor Contest and win 120. You are right if you think I have time for that. Things must be well dull by you, eh? Yes, man, things dullish is a wonder. You know how Saturday cat does be busy. Girl, a master double showing at Empire this evening. You're not going. What they showing? Robert Taylor in Waterloo Bridge and this gun for hire. I don't miss Robert Taylor pictures at all, girl. I have a date this evening, man. You're going in the gardens, eh? Look, Mr. Benson coming. We got talk later. Boise said, you should have cursed your mother. Why you didn't report you to the store walker? But why she treat me so, man? I was there first, before anybody else. Listen, is one thing you have to learn quick, and that is that white people is God in this country, boy. Was the same thing when I used to work in the grocery. Was always white people first. Black people, like we, don't stand a chance. But man, I ain't black. I is Indian. Don't mind, as long as you ain't white, they just call you black, whether you coolie, or nigger, or Chinese. And two besides, you don't know they have a club where no black people could go. It's a big shot place. If you have money, you stand a chance. I know some black people who well get in because they holding big. But if tomorrow come and you say they ain't have money, case boy, they never go back. But how everybody else does stand that kind of thing. Boise rose from the bench and stretched. Papa, is you who want to find out all them things? Ain't you want experience? Well, you're getting it in your tail now. 1 o'clock came and went, and the business places in Frederick Street exuded streams of employees, some dressed in warm jackets and with ties choking them under the blazing sun, the wiser ones with sleeves rolled up and necks open. Look, done all this stupid talk, Boise said suddenly. I getting hungry. It have a restaurant in Queen Street where we could go and get some dal puri and curry chicken. Let we go. So now I can't get the bonnet, Tiger said as they ate. Boise belched and drank water. Look, I'm going down St. James to see Stella. What you could do, take a tram going to St. Clair and go for a ride round the savannah. I ain't coming back till late, so don't worry to wait for me. Go by the stand in George Street and take bus or taxi and go home. I'm sure you can't get lost doing that. Pay for the food and let we go. Boise saw Tiger on the tram and went to catch a trolleybus himself. It was like traveling in a train, he imagined. The bitterness had left him. The food was still warm in his belly. And now that he was on his own, the trip became more adventurous. Anything could happen. If an incident like the one in the store recurred, He would know what to do. He wished something would happen so he could show them. There were white people in the tram. He put his foot up on the seat in front, wanting the conductor to tell him to take it down. But when the conductor came for the fare, he took no notice of Tiger's foot. The tram was passing in the savannah. He could see boys kicking footballs and flying kites, and all the big houses where the white people lived. Such big houses, and pretty, with flower gardens in front, and vines growing on the walls. One day he would buy a house like that. Don't mind he was Indian. Don't mind he didn't have money now. He could be a big shot too, you won't say. In Chaguanas there was a rich Indian. He had a shop and a car and a big house. Not as big as these, but big still. When you have money, you could do anything. The tram curved and travelled alongside Maraval Road. That must be the college boys he was telling him to look out for. You could get knowledge in there. If his parents were rich, they might have sent him to the school in Port of Spain, perhaps in that very same college. He would have grown up clever. He knew he would have learned all his lessons well and striven to be at the top of the class all the time. After, they might have sent him to study lawyer or doctor. Which one would he have chosen? It didn't matter. Either one would have brought in plenty money. People were always going to court or getting sick. Moving among the big shots, he would have a car, a big one, new and shiny. This time see him visiting all the people in Barataria. Look, Mr. Tiger coming in his new car. He come back from England as a big lawyer boy. He have plenty money boy. Good morning, Mr. Tiger. Good morning, Chief. He would stand them all drinks. Not because he was a big shot, he would ignore them. He would give a feast for the poor. He would have an office in Port of Spain and a secretary, like Mr. Rodriguez, a landowner in San Juan. This time the girls wild about him. He wouldn't let his father fix no marriage for him. He would pick the girl himself and married in the rich church in the city, not in a bamboo tent. Hear the wedding bells ringing. See how many people came to Mr. Tiger's wedding. So many cars from Laventil to Port of Spain. All of them going to the wedding. Man, after the wedding, people talk about it for weeks. It was talk of the town. Big picture in the Guardian papers, big headlines. Mr. Tiger, prominent city lawyer, marries doctor's daughter. This time everybody know him for the smartest lawyer in town. It reached a time when he even have to refuse case. He have to expand the office and now about 3 secretary workers working for him. As for the house he is going to be living in, G's and ages. If the governor's house have 100 window, he own would have 100.5. Which part you think that house going to be? Right in the middle of way, all them white people living. You think he going to country club every night? But you wrong. Not because he have plenty money, he go forget his own friends. He go be one big shot who the people go like, because he kind and helpful to the poor. Every 2-3 week he giving feast for the poor. G's and ages. That go be life, I tell you. If we had money, eh? The tram curved. The wheels whined against the rails in the turning, and came to a halt in the rock gardens. Tiger got out and walked around, looking at the flowers and the lilies in the 2 small ponds, his thoughts going round in circles, if this and if that. He walked across the road into the botanical gardens, up a lane lined with bay trees on which the bark peeled, and here and there people, strolling lovers hand in hand, a painter out in the open trying to get down a tree whose aspect was almost sensual, a young man deeply engrossed in a book, his back braced by the earth, an old woman sitting on a bench, a basket of sugar cakes by her side, gesticulating and mumbling to an invisible companion. A white woman with a dog on a leash, walking not enjoyably but for the exercise, in long strides. He saw the muscles of her calves flex with each step. A white man with a beard and a pipe and a camera. A group of American sailors being conducted on a tour of the gardens by a young Indian in a crumpled felt hat and dirty khaki pants, and 2 teeth missing from his mouth. He stood up and heard the guide tell the Americans about a certain rare fruit which could rejuvenate the body. How old men came and begged him to get a few for them so they could satisfy their wives. He told the sailors that the only tree he knew of was one growing in the gardens. He would have shown them, but he was up on the hill and wasn't in fruit at that time of the year. Tiger walked up the hill where there was a flagpole. He watched down at most of the city, the savannah green and spreading, and all the houses where the white people lived, and the sea far out, loading with ships. He could see the water shimmering under the glare of the sun. Looking down the coastline, he saw the Laventil swamp, its edge against the sea. He knew the swamp well. It extended inland right up to the back of the fields where he and the other farmers worked. Boys used to set traps for crabs in the swamp. He looked up at the sky, where clouds shaped like the first forms of life sailed in the blue, going down west to pile up for the sunset later in the evening. He compared the broken-down hovels staining the Laventil hillside with the houses of the white people. Over there, nastiness and poverty, a tin cup of weak tea and a johnny cake or a roti. Over there, motor cars and what did white people eat? Probably the best things, dishes he had never tasted in his life. He knew how every Sunday morning they came up to Barataria to buy the best beef and vegetables. Once he had heard Rita telling her miller about some kind of box in which they stored food, and it lasted for weeks. The box made ice and ice cream. He would have to learn about all those inventions. The wind came down from the hills behind St. Anne's in thrusts of sweet, wild smells, and again he felt a power in it he would have liked to possess. He sat under a cashew tree and fell back on the grass, becoming aware of 100 insect noises in the bush, the movement of leaf, and of a throb in the earth itself, as if life buried there was pushing to come to the surface. It must be trees growing. It must be roots delving for food. He remembered the word delving. The government agriculture man had used it in telling him about roots being the lifeline of plants. He felt as limitless as the space between him and the sky. Tiger didn't know the sky didn't exist except as a reflection. To him, it was a real blue bowl covering the world. Clouds were there because there had to be rain for things to grow. He knew which ones portended rainfall. Not those white ones flying now, but the great grey ones tumbling into one another until the whole sky was like slate. How high those clouds is. How high the sky. It must be good to fork up the land in the sky. It is so blue. And everything you plant, it must be come out of the blue too. There would be books to tell him all of that, of course. He must hurry up and learn to read. He couldn't go around asking people questions all the time. He must have been a trouble to Boise. That was why he paid so willingly for everything they drank and ate. When he was smaller, he never got answers. Why hadn't they sent him to school, instead of having him work away so many years in the canes fields? He had learned nothing at all. It was only now he was learning. He remembered the man he had seen in the valley below reading a book. He put himself in the place of the reader and turned a page. But that was all he could do. He could say it was a pretty book or the pages were thick, Or might he be able to count them all, one by one? But all the knowledge written down there, thousands and thousands of words answering all his questions, and he could only stare. What sort of books would he read when he learned? Well, first, it would be hard. You know, I can't read at all. I know the alphabet. When I was small, we used to say A, B, C in counting to see who could catch when we were playing hoop. Like this? I know I can't explain good, but just suppose I could have talked good, so you could understand me. Like this. A, B, C. Mother catch a flea. Flea die, mother cry, 1, 2, 3. I know all, down to Z, and I could count a little bit, man. You have to be able to count, yes, or else people would give you wrong change in the shop. Well, first I would borrow them easy books from Henry. It's only a little time now he going to school. They must be easy. First primer and second primer. It's from them I will learn first, then little bit by degrees. I will learn to read the papers. So there does drink so much rum, man. I will have to buy plenty for him to teach me. But it's worth it. After that, other books about England and America and all them countries. But what I want to find out most is about things in general, about people and how I does feel funny sometimes. Man, if I tell you about things I want to find out, what I doing here now, why I living, what all of we doing here, why some people black and some white, how far it is from here to the cloud up there, what it have behind the sky, why some people rich and some poor, but is what they fighting a war for. Man, I can't tell you about everything. He imagined himself coming to the gardens to read. It was nice here, with the trees and flowers. Look how much he was thinking now. A buttercup butterfly, bobbing about in the air, thrown off course by the wind, righted itself and moved in graceful dips across his vision, and he watched it, holding his breath, hoping it would come to rest near him. But it settled on a leaf of the cashew tree only for an instant, and took off in a hopping flight, falling down the hill. There wasn't very much he could look back on. It was the future he had to be concerned about. He got up and looked at the sea again, feeling its deep movement. He would come back, as often as he could. It didn't cost much. 6 cents on the bus, 3 cents on the tram, and he could be in another world. It was getting dark. He must have been in the gardens longer than he thought, for the sun was sinking. He watched it with deep feeling, not giving of himself so much as drawing from it what he could. It had lost its rays, and as he watched the salmon-colored penny, it seemed the horizon cut in half and sent its blood spilling all over the sky. Deep purple merged in red and yellow, outlining the clouds. A flight of scarlet flamingos from the mainland of Venezuela just made it and headed for the Laventil swamp. A blue evening haze settled on the hills. A twilight descended on the city. He had never paid much attention to the sunset before. Often he worked until it was dark, with his back to the west. It was easier to work in the evening when it was cool. But this one was different. It was for him the sunset. He was glad he was alone. Boise would not have understood how he felt. He thought that when it rose in the morning, things would change. For changes were sudden with him. One day he was a little boy, and the next day he was a man. One day he didn't have to worry about anything, and the next he had a wife and a child and a shop to pay. Something would happen. "Aye, man, you don't know 6 o'clock gone and it's time you shut the gardens," the Negro watchman shouted to him from the valley. All right, I'm going now." And he ran down the hill. End of chapter 6.